Hello, and welcome to the Art of a Well-Lived Life podcast. This podcast continues the conversation I shared with my mentor, Dr. Gladys McGarey, who at 100 years old shared her wisdom and the 6 secrets from her book, The Well-Lived Life, on our weekly Instagram lives. Through intimate interviews, I explore the many ways people bring meaning, vitality, and purpose into their lives, discovering the unique artistry behind living well. And my first guest on the podcast is Caroline Myss. She is a 5-time New York best-selling author, internationally recognized speaker in the fields of human consciousness, mysticism, and energy medicine. Known for her groundbreaking book, Anatomy of the Spirit, and her bold transformative insights, she has spent decades guiding people towards self-awareness, healing, and spiritual awakening. I am so excited to have Caroline as my first guest. And it was 1 year ago, almost to the day, that she and Dr. Gladys had Dr. Gladys's very last interview. And so I thought it only perfect to have her come on as the first guest on the podcast, honoring Dr. Gladys's life and legacy as we continue sharing stories of a well-lived life. Thanks for joining. Recording. Well, hello there, Caroline.
Hi there.
How are you today?
I'm very good. And how are you?
I am good. I was sharing on my little intro that it was 1 year ago yesterday that you had a beautiful conversation with our dear friend, Dr. Gladys McGarey, who this podcast is really inspired by. And so I thought, how perfect to have you as my very, very first guest.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you.
And in reviewing the chat that we three of us had, it was just so much fun to hear the stories of all the stages that you shared together, all of the teachings that you had together, and do you have any thoughts just about that you want to share about Dr. Gladys?
Well, I want to say again how much I really, truly admired her.
Mm.
I mean, and as we were talking before the podcast started, I remember meeting her because you can't ever not remember meeting Gladys at Council Grove, which was this meeting that Elmer Green and his wife Elise created every year right after Easter in Council Grove, Kansas, and they took this what do you call it, a children's camp, and used that as the so we were all in blue jeans, and Gladys walks in always wearing a gown, and I remember this one blue chiffon gown, and she looked like a queen. I mean, and gracious. I mean, Gladys embodied graciousness and sincerity and goodness. And I'm telling you, I from the moment I met her, I thought she was one of the loveliest people I'd ever known.
Yeah, she really has quite her upbringing and her story, and just becoming a medical doctor in the 40s and what she went through, and just all of it. I mean, it was not an easy life for her, but she certainly has had the tenacity and to just keep going, which was just so
especially after her marriage broke up. Such a late stage, Katie.
Yes.
That was so traumatic. But even then, I remember her coming to Council Grove and her then ex-husband with his new partner. And
oh, wow.
Yeah. And she just handled herself like a queen.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Well,
Is Bill still alive? Is he still?
no, he passed probably 10 years ago, 10 or
Yeah.
11 years
I,
ago.
I
Yeah.
thought I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so what are you up to these days? A year ago, you shared a bunch of things that, when Gladys
Well,
asked you what
actually,
you were
what
up
I'm
to.
doing, I'm having the time of my life.
Well, that's great to
This
hear.
is I mean, this is a really beautiful time in my life. Uh, I'm not on the road as much, which
Mm.
is, for me, a relief. And I'm able to write the book I'm writing now, which is I'm writing about my work,
Hmm.
which is a real shockaroo. Um, it
And writing about it in telling the reader what you have done through your whole life, or
no, because that I'm bored with that. But what I am emphasizing, which is where it's become a real reflective time for me,
hmm.
is how guidance has worked with me all through my life from the time I was a child.
Hmm.
And how I had come to trust that voice early on in my childhood, and all the decisions I ever made in my life. And I didn't realize it till I really sat to compile things.
Hmm.
But all the decisions were really based on protecting that current so that I didn't tamper with it. You're never doing drugs, never, I mean, not drinking. I never wanted to tamper with this current. And I even felt that being in a relationship would tamper with the current because I couldn't bear to compromise if I heard guidance in the way that I would hear it directly. I couldn't have anybody obstruct it.
Wow.
It was that significant to me and
A-
remains that significant. Yeah.
And when did you realize that it was that significant? Like, how old were you that you didn't want it to be tampered with?
Well, I really did grow up coddled by guides. I mean, I heard them. I saw my angel once, and I lived in this kind of bubble that's the way it was for everybody. But then I found out it wasn't. But it didn't phase me. I mean, it just didn't phase me. I think the way heaven works is that it has the capacity to kind of spiritually anesthetize you, so you actually don't even realize how extraordinary something is, and
Mm.
allows you to function in the ordinary.
Hmm.
And and
Hmm.
and to be clear, I mean, it wasn't like I had visions and things floating around my house. No, it's how incredibly organic God is in
Mm.
the blood and bones and in your and but I, for some reason, had unconditional trust in the guidance that I would hear from the time I was a child. And unlike so many people, I was blessed with a family where when I told my mom about it, she says, God's given you a gift, so you be careful and just trust God. And
Huh.
I was never ever told, don't talk about nothing. And I remember one day when I was in college and I worked at a candy factory that made Snickers. Do you know what a Snickers bar is?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
And that's got to be the most American candy bar there
Right.
is. Right? So
Right.
we made Snickers and Three Musketeers and all that. And that's how I worked my way through college. And I worked from 3:30 to midnight, 6 days a week.
Oh.
And oh no, it was great. Mars Candy Company hired all these college kids. We had a ball. And I made a lot of money for a college kid because they paid us regular factory wages. So
Okay.
I was in the milk, as they say. And one night I'm driving home and I'm driving down Oak Park Avenue. And uh, so it's a busier street and a lot of side streets are coming in. And I'm just driving in my own thoughts, but I hear my guide say, slow down, a red truck's gonna run the stop sign at the next corner. And I slowed down, and then this red truck flew through, because it was like 12:30, 12:15 at night, so we didn't expect anyone to be on Oak Park. He just flew through, and if he had hit my car, I would have been dead.
Wow.
And then it was right after that I realized, oh my God, oh my God. And then I got the giggles and said, Jesus, you even know when I leave work. And I cannot tell you how that imprinted me, thinking I am so safe. You have eyes on me 24/7. You know when I leave work, you know everything. So it became a true like imprint experience. That may
Mm,
not sound like for much, but for me, I was absolutely, I mean, if I had had a vision, it would have been, it was just like, oh my God, you saved my life tonight. You saved my life tonight. So you want me to do something. What do you want? And that was it. I mean, I had, and the times that I've heard, and this is what I realized in writing this book, the times when I have heard direct guidance, direct like that,
yep.
has always been when my life was at risk in some way.
Hmm.
In some way. Um, Otherwise, the guidance came in like spiritual breadcrumbs or very organically through the natural intuitive system. But in writing this book, I went back, I'm reading the script. I was reading the scripture when you called because I wanted to look back at angelic apparitions as they were recorded in the scripture. And again, angels showed up when someone's life was in absolute trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, heaven has this back off, let them make a choice and live with the consequences.
Hmm.
But always, if there is this sense of, oh, no, 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 I am not living down here without your guidance because it's just going to go better. It's not going to make everything okay.
Right.
It's going to minimize damage. And indeed, when the angels showed up, it was always to deliver a message you couldn't get otherwise, or to save you. Like when an angel said to Joseph, get Mary and get out of here and go to Egypt. And angels, like, he didn't give him a roadmap. He didn't say where to go, just go, you know.
Right.
And there is something about, I realized that when guidance has come into my life, I followed it immediately. I mean, immediately. Um, and so in writing about that, I mean, it just like, and then as I talk about how I've come to understand human nature and
Mm,
the role of the soul, the power of the soul, the
mm,
presence of God in our life, all of that, the role of the sacred. I have made a very long journey over 40 years. And now I really deeply, deeply get that the soul is mission control, not the mind, not the body. The soul is mission control. And I came to that gradually because as I would work with Norm and I would do medical intuitive diagnoses, in the early days, I really did just go after finding what was wrong with you. And and in a way, I was kind of earning my intuitive stripes, as it
mm.
were, because I could say, well, you've got this cancer, you've got this or that. But eventually I realized that illness is the caboose on the train, just like everything we're living here is the caboose. It took months of planning this video. That's the engine.
Right.
This is the caboose. So, like with illness, by the time it's in the body, that's the caboose. I was getting interested in the engine. Like, where do,
Mhm.
where do things start?
Right.
And so that began my journey into mysticism very, very, very deeply and into the power of the soul. And today, as I say, as I'm writing, I haven't written this section yet, but when I get to what I today would tell someone is the most toxic thing in the world, it isn't what you eat by any means, it's whether you lie. whether you compromise your soul in any way, shape, or form. That'll do it.
Hmm.
Do it. What the and I think one of the reasons our society is so toxic is it's been eating a steady diet of lies and fake news and whatever,
Yeah.
and losing the precious gift of discernment and the capacity to seek truth. And that is the highest command of God. Seek truth.
Hmm.
And your body, your soul thrives on truth. I mean, I look at people in relationships and I inevitably they'll say, well, I found my partner here because I just feel like I could be honest with him. Because being honest, and honest is just a prelude to truth. Honest is what you comment on, but truth is a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're terrified of truth. Now we arrest people if they speak the truth. We punish whistleblowers. We have turned ourselves upside down and inside out. And you wonder why people are mad and they do insane things.
Right.
So anyway, that's what I'm up to.
Wow. Wow. So that is a lot to I would have liked to have been taking notes on that, but and I'm sorry that my video keeps going out. I had to use my phone to do this Zoom recording because my internet was weird and I forgot to turn off my anyway. Um so the truth of the soul. So how so if you're teaching that, so you're writing about that, are you then speaking about it? Are you teaching? Are you
Sure,
not
I
really
just,
teaching right
I'm
now?
really, I'll do an online class. When this is done, I'll bring my work to class, but I am doing, I just did a workshop for the Theosophical Society. I did one for the Association of Near-Death Studies, which fascinates me.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm finding, it's effortless for me to teach on the soul. It's
Right.
effortless. I mean, and I'm at an age where the nonsense people believe about there is no God or this. I can't. What they think, they associate the church with whatever. Everybody's skepticism is of no interest to me. It is absolutely of no interest. My only interest, honestly, is to kind of get a message through about how present the divine is in every single thing we do. That
Mm.
that everything that exists, Katie, my desk, this phone, is a manifestation of the energy of God. Everything, everything, all life breathes together. So when
Mm.
I look at world events, I look at it through this lens that it's a collective creation, and that if we're unable to direct our choices with truth, we are heading into bad times.
Mm.
If we're afraid of the truth, if we're afraid to stand up to truth, then all we will do is compromise and become more hateful. Because when you compromise your integrity, you've got to find someone to blame for that. It's got to be your childhood. It's got to be the Democrat. It's got to be the Republican.
Right.
It's got to be the
Right.
Martians, whomever. But it can't be you who says, I just don't have the courage to face the truth. But the soul never lets you get away with that. And so you start to rot from the inside out. More drug addictions, more addicts, all of it. It's all
Right.
part
Right.
of it. It's all part of it.
And so how do we teach? How do I, as I'm a chiropractor, I like how do I, as my neighborhood person here, share that truth? And I think about all of the people who are struggling right now with what can I do to make a difference? Our world is so crazy right now what can I do? You know, I can show up at the No Kings rally. I can show up and at all of these different places. But what I hear you saying in part is that, and I know this to be true, that it all starts with ourselves. And so you're saying that it's all starting with the truth. If we can be truthful, but what does that even look like if somebody doesn't even know what truth is? How do
that's what
we peel back the layers?
right. I mean, that's where honestly, you have to pray for the grace of discernment.
Mm,
You have to start paying attention to your own behavior and realize when you are compromising your integrity,
mm,
when you are not speaking the truth, when you yourself can't bear to listen to the truth or to say, oh, wait a minute, I got to find out what's going on here. When you assume that what someone's telling you is the truth,
mm.
you got to become incredibly discerning. It may be their truth, but it's not mine. So,
Right.
And it's not truth, it's some thing. You have to be very discerning, and then you have to pay attention to whether what it is you're absorbing makes you feel better or not.
Mm,
Does it bring balance to you, or does it take balance from you? Now, I know a couple of people, one of whom I spoke to right before talking to you, whose way of keeping the airwaves clean is to not listen to the news anymore, to not to, but you don't get that the psychic airwaves are filled with psychic free radicals. And all of our rage is sparking through this.
right.
And we absorb, and I cannot tell you how many people have said to me, something's in the air. I just feel like something bad's coming because they're feeling the psychic free radicals. And you
Right.
say, like, what do I do? Well, I have to tell you that this is going to sound like very archaic, indeed monastic guidance, but that is what prayer is about.
Mm,
That is what the power of, and we as a species have lost faith in faith. We don't, faith, another critical stressor that I am convinced is a part of why people are massively depressed and have anxiety attacks,
mm,
is that the faith mechanism that should have been activated when they were a child has never been activated. It hasn't been properly activated to
mm.
something greater than themselves. Parents don't want to take kids to church or whatever, like, and fundamentalism to me is evil. So I'm not talking about fundamentalism.
Right.
I'm talking about introducing to children that there is a higher power watching you. So it matters what you do. It matters who you are, and you matter, and your life matters, and it matters that you do something good on this earth. These are not difficult spiritual instructions,
Right.
right? And it matters how you treat another person. And one act of kindness goes forever. And I do mean goes forever. And the absence of activating that faith mechanism early on, every single person who is, I would say 90% of the people I meet have no idea what it is to have faith, and
Mm,
including and beginning with in themselves. They lie to themselves constantly. They don't have faith in their own word. They might, angels reach you by saying, you know, you really should get up and walk. You need to exercise. Guidance is very organic and ordinary. And people will say to themselves, you know, I'm going to start walking tomorrow, and then when tomorrow comes, it's tomorrow. So they don't even keep their word to themselves. So
right.
they don't have any faith in themselves. And if you don't have faith in yourself, I tell you, it is impossible to have faith in another person. You'll never believe them, not completely. You'll never trust them, not completely, because you know you can't trust yourself.
Mm,
And you can't trust another person. If you don't trust yourself, you won't trust anything. And then you build a world on choices and relationships that you essentially don't trust. You want
wow.
people are full of anxiety? Are you kidding me? I gave this talk last week, 2 weeks, I don't know, whatever, a few weeks ago, to the International Association of Near-Death Experiences.
Mm-hmm.
As a result of all the death that has been part of my life in this last year, losing my beloved Norm, losing my spiritual director, losing my mom, I mean, just the list goes on and on. And I was feeling melancholy, not depressed, just kind of melancholy because I mean, Norm was 92. He's lived a good life. I mean, you can mourn, but you can't say how sad, now.
Right. Right.
Okay, my mom was 97. Come on, she was ready to go. And she said to me, I can't go out to dinner with, she's bedridden because of an accident. And she said, I can't go out to dinner with you tonight. Excuse me. Because my brother's coming for me. Oh, pardon me.
Oh, bless you.
There's allergies now, like I never. Anyway, but one day
Was
last
her
summer,
brother already passed?
I beg your pardon.
Was her brother on this
Oh
physical?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And he said he told me he's coming back for me. This is allergies. He told me he's coming back for me this evening. And by God, that's what happened. She just slipped away. We were having a conversation, and 10 minutes later, she was gone.
wow.
Yeah. But anyway, excuse me, I'm having an allergy thing.
Yeah.
So I started, I was feeling melancholy. And I went on, what is that thing called? YouTube. And you know how YouTube, if like, for example, you put down French food recipes, the next thing you know, you're almost getting a ticket to France. It just here's come to France, look at this hotel, and all these French recipes. But the same thing is true when you hit like, oh, this looks interesting. So if I find one near-death experience interesting, the next thing you know, my phone was just inundated with. But the point is, I listened to this one woman tell her story, and she's now a friend of mine. I mean, I tracked her down because it was so authentic. And her name
Oh,
is
yes.
Nancy Rhines. She's just amazing. So, and what struck out for me was that she said I was an atheist. And the next thing you know, I'm in this place, and how can that be? Right. So now I'm speaking to this audience. As a result of Nancy and all it, I got this invitation to the International Association for Near Death. So I spoke. And I have this audience now, maybe, I don't know, 600, 700, 800 people. And I said, how many of you would have considered yourself atheist or agnostic prior to your NDE? And amazingly, all these hands go up, right? And I said, so what did you believe before your NDE? How did you monitor yourself? What the hell did you believe before you believed?
Right.
What motivated you? How did you see the universe? How did you value your life, the purpose of your life? How did you deal with the loss of other people when it was time to get called home? How did you function? And now, the majority of these people who are having near-death experiences were atheists and agnostic. Now, when I first encountered NDEs years ago when I was involved with Ken Ring, that was not the case. But now, this 38, 40 years later, all these people that are, I think, getting targeted for a near-death experience, what they share is that they come back and they say, oh no, I got to tell everybody, I was so wrong. And here's the thing. So back to, believe it or not, your question, but what can we do?
Right.
People get life reviews. And the significance of the life review is, and no way I mean, it just, but every single thought we ever had is reviewed. Every thought, every use of energy that was our life is reviewed in this pixelated dynamic, this mystical pixelated soul dynamic, where every single thought and the consequence of what that thought created.
Mm.
And so what heaven shows these people is the tiniest thing that they'd never remember. Like Nancy is shown when she was 17 and she said something awful to her sister deliberately. Operative word here, deliberately. Chose to use her life force to harm another. And not only did she relive that moment completely, but she felt the impact it had on her sister. So heaven doesn't let us off the hook. We're not absorbing our life. We are sensing the full creative 360 spectrum of you did this and this is what it resulted in. Now I want you to feel what it resulted in. And it's always these tiny, and a little tiny thing. She's shown an act of kindness to a checkout girl at Christmas time where it was crazy. And then she's shown that because of that act of kindness, it recharged her battery. And she was a very different woman when she went home that evening to her children. She never thought twice of that. She walked out of the store and never even thought that woman again. But it changed her life. What can we do? Sincere, serious, constant acts of kindness. And truly realizing I am breathing with that person. All life breathes together. This is one system. And we are living at a time of a great transformation. And transformation sounds so fun. No, it is going to be, the chaos is going to continue. Because there are so many, because for the first time in the history of humanity, every nation, every species, including the climate, so including our Earth, is participating in this transition of how we understand power. That's going to reshape the borders of nations. It's going to reshape the way we are. And we have a long way to go before we go from being separatist dominating species, nations, ethnic groups, to realizing we are one humanity. We won't live to see this. But what we are living to see is that heaven is no longer sponsoring illusions people have long believed. It is introducing, no, you're all one, holistic health, the whole ecology, pandemics, everything that affects the whole, because the whole is the new upgrade model.
Wow. So what would you do if, when these people, let's just say we might have unkind thoughts about another that might be in a political perspective?
Of a political variety.
Yes.
Well, I have to battle that all the time.
Yeah.
But what I do, and it's also what I teach my students, is that the first thing I do in a classroom is draw a building, just a big square with 12 floors, just 12 lines across, right? And what I tell people is, this is you. When you're born, you're like a building. I can't move the building anymore. When I was born in Chicago. I can't change that. There are certain things I can't change. I was born to a Polish, Austrian Catholic family, very Catholic, very Chicago, very Midwest. And those are things you can't shape. So it shaped what I would believe. It shaped the God I would be introduced to. It shaped the neighborhood and how I thought people should behave. I went to a Catholic grade school. It shaped the routine. You go to mass, it's shaped. That's the first floor of your building. And eventually, the only movement in our lives is what floor we want to live on. And every floor, as you go up, is going to give you a wider perspective of who's out there. Oh, look, there's other neighborhoods. There's Italian neighborhoods. There's Latino neighborhoods. Oh, look at this. There's Greek neighborhoods. Look at Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And then you go a little higher and you realize, I don't think Catholicism is a little tight fitting. It feels like a corset. What else is out there? So then you start pursuing what is just the nature of God. And you get past the floor of religions. And then you get to a floor where you think, instead of asking, what's the purpose of my life? You start asking the major league cosmic questions. What's the purpose of life? I'll fit into that. I won't have life fit into me. And so this ascension is the evolutionary, and you begin to realize we have to evolve to become a species incapable of thinking destroying others is the solution to our problem.
Right.
We now have weapons that are just too toxic. Secondly, we have to become a global community. Now, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So but if I compared it to your body and said, okay, well, you are a micro earth and every one of your organs is like a country. And in order for you to survive this illness, you have to start thinking on behalf of all your organs, or you're not going to make it. What's in one is in the whole. So that same message is coming through to the collective body of this earth. And we have to eventually join the galactic community. We're a very primitive species.
Mm. Well, so I love that. And I've heard you use that, teach to the floors in a building. And so when we come across somebody that we might have thoughts about, and then we're also thinking about equanimity, that, I am you, you are me, you are a reflection of me. And likewise, would that also then be that perhaps that person is just still on the first floor? Like
I'm not understanding your question.
that people we have perhaps negative thoughts about,
Yeah.
Because we are all one, and there is this, where do we put them? Are they like still in the first floor of the
no. I think here you start going for some high altitude cosmic truth. I don't know what drives that person.
Right.
I haven't got a clue. You have to become detached. And you have to also become detached from the idea that you know best and that your attitudes are best.
Right.
Which is also an illusion, as Buddha would say. And what I do is I remind myself that this moment in time has been generated by a billion, trillion moments that came before it. That the people acting out this moment in time in public are there because they reflect the shadow side of a lot of humanity. It was our shadow side and our collective values and our collective entitlements that shaped the world we're now in.
Right.
They alone didn't do this. This is the result of nations feeling we're entitled to more than that nation, and we're entitled to this, and we're entitled to always be a white nation, and we're entitled to this. There are a lot of people that take refuge in those illusions. And especially because the signal's gone out to all humanity that things are changing fast.
Right. Yeah.
And so what people do is, here's fundamentalism. They go back to fundamentals. Wait a minute, this country was founded for white people. This country, this. They go back to fundamentals. If we take away the rights of women, if we force them to have children, if we reorganize around a time when it was a good old day, we'll stop the progression. All of that's desperation and fear, and it requires a lot of lies, which is what you're seeing.
Right.
But it won't work. It won't work.
Yeah.
It will cause a lot of destruction. Like fascism in Europe didn't work, but it destroyed all the cities in Germany. And it destroyed half of Poland. And it destroyed and killed 20 million people in Russia. It took down, and we had a Holocaust. We pay a price for our illusions, and we're going to pay a price.
Oh, such wisdom. When is your book coming out? When I
finish it, and I think hopefully next autumn.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait.
So I
Um,
will leave you with this. And that's that finally I would tell everybody, spend time in prayer and don't be stupid. Don't tell yourself, I don't know how to pray. I don't know who to pray to. I have an issue. Don't confuse your issues with the church. With there is no such thing as a God that has religion. The
mhm,
divine has no religion. That's our stuff. Get to a higher place where you realize, wait a minute, what's this power? I mean, what is this power? What is this? What is something great created all this?
mhm,
And
mhm.
if you're not happy the way things going, then make it a practice every day to do some kind of kindness to make the world you live in better. If
Right.
that's where you live, that's the world you've been assigned to, then make it a better place.
Mm, I love that. I love that. And I want to share one story with you because I don't think I was able to tell you this. When Gladys was passing, I I was not able to speak to her because she really wasn't talking. It was that week before she died. And I was telling her son, she doesn't have to talk. I really just want to get on the phone and be able to tell her how much I love her and how grateful I am that we had this time together and just all of the things. I said, I just need you to hold the phone next to her ear. And he said, okay, I can do that. Now, going back a few years prior, when her sister died, she was with her sister. And when they were growing up in India, they had an ayah, which was their like nanny.
And
And ayah would teach them how to sing songs in the pundits in Hindustani. And so they would sing hymns in English and Hindustani. And so when her sister was dying, she was talking to her sister, and her sister was with Aya, and they were singing songs and they were playing the hand drum. And so when I was talking to Gladys and I was telling her how much I loved her, and I said, are you in between both worlds? And she said, yes. And I,
she she actually answered you.
oh, yeah, because I forgot to say this part. When he said she doesn't want to talk, we were talking over one another. She just started talking and she was telling me all the things as well. And so we were both talking at the same time. And so I said, are you in between both worlds? And she said, yes. And I said, are you with Aya? And she said, yes. And we're singing Christmas hymns in Hindustani. And she, in that moment, sang a song to me from the other side in Hindustani in a voice that was perfectly clear, perfectly loud. And I'm just sitting on the phone, tears running down my face. I could not believe she was singing to me from the other side with all of her
Yeah.
people. And she finished this song and I was, speechless. And I was like, oh my gosh, Gladys, that was just so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And her voice went back to being very, weak. And then I said, see you next time. And when we hung up the phone and I talked to her brother later, her son, and I just said, oh my God, that was really the most amazing thing. And he said it was pretty amazing on this side as well, like to be a witness to the whole thing. But oh, and so again, to your point, like there is something other than what we're seeing here. And so just
God.
be in prayer, to be in, you know, humility about it all and to pray. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with me today.
You are welcome, Katie.
Oh,
Thank,
such a gift. You are such a treasure and I am so grateful you are here
thank you, Katie.
sharing all
Okay.
your good works. So until we meet again.
Till we meet again.
Yes. Thank you so much, Carolyn.
You're
Much
welcome.
thank you. Bye.